Welcome to Tutoring with Lila. Today we're going to discuss how to form consistently strong opinions, especially when it comes to literature. So this is going to be a 4-part series laying out how to form an opinion, starting with, in this video, how to recognize your opinions. Then we'll move on to strengthening your opinions, some little tidbits that can be helpful in that process, and finally I'll give you some examples. And I'll let you know where you can find additional resources and such on my website. This series of videos is a prerequisite for going into the next series of videos, which will be on how to write a thesis statement for literature. So it's great to watch these first so that you have an understanding of what you want to write about and a strong understanding of what you want to write about before you kind of look at the technical aspect and get too gobbled up with trying to get it exactly worded right. So you're in the perfect place. So the first step is always to recognize your opinion. And you're probably thinking, duh, right now, like, that's why we're here. Don't just tell me to recognize my opinions. I want to know how and how to make them strong. But hear me out here. I don't mean that you need to recognize like this great brilliant idea like, oh, oppressors are bad because they manipulate their vulnerable citizens, which will come up later in the video. But I just mean recognize the really simple opinions like, oh, I think this character is bad. I think this character is good. I liked that storyline. I thought that was interesting when that happened. Just really simple things like that. Now please write those ideas down, because they might leave your mind the next day when you're reading the next chapter, and it's always really sad when you lose an opinion. So even if you think it's weak, still write it down, because as you read more of the storyline, you might realize that the weaker idea you had has been expanded on in the book. And that's an awesome thing. For instance, I'm going to use the example of Animal Farm. At the beginning of the story, you might have thought pigs are bad because they just didn't seem very nice to the other animals. They kind of seemed like they were taking leadership. Now, when you're reading the first couple chapters, you might think, wow, what a weak opinion. But as you reach the end of the book, you realize, oh, that's a great opinion. And then you can build upon it and realize that it's kind of the universal message of the entire book. But don't worry about it too much now. Just write down the simplest opinion that you have and all of the simplest opinions you have. Another good idea to remember your thoughts while reading a book is to leave sticky notes when you have a thought about the book. And these can mark either if you see a literary device being used in a certain chapter or in a certain sentence, or if there's a theme that you see is beginning to emerge. I always like to use sticky notes just as a quick reminder, and you can see them in the book and you know where they are. You know what quotes kind of go with the idea. And if you only have big sticky notes and you don't want to waste all that paper, what I do is I just cut it into little slits, and then I just write short sentences, little jot notes on what I think about a certain sentence or if I see a certain literary device being used. So here's the really simple way I make little sticky notes out of the big sticky notes that I have. So what I do is I just cut it usually into 4 pieces, just like this. And then I repeat that along all the other ones. Here it looks like I'm only going to be able to make 3, but that's cool. And then what I do is I just write here my ideas, or I say, oh, here's a literary device, this is what it is. Oh, I see a theme is emerging. I just write that right there. I peel it off and I stick it into my book. Here's a quick example of that. This is Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. And there's the sticky notes I've stuck in. So for instance, in this one, this is Act 1, Scene 1, I said that she's personifying the set by saying they are tired, referring to the set. So yeah. If you've already completed the piece of literature, whether it's a book, poem, or anything else that will go in the blank, and you're not really sure what opinions you had while reading it, you've forgotten, you have other schoolwork you're busy with, I totally get it. Here's my suggestion to you. Go back and just skim through the book. Spark notes it if you want. I'm not saying you need to reread the book by any means. I mean, that's always a great way to get more insight, but I have never done that. That is just way too much time. So just skim through it, read a couple sentences, and usually with just those quick memory recalls, or like I said, spark notes, you'll start to remember what you were thinking as you were reading that, and you might even form new opinions, because now you know the ending, you know what's happened, you've had a discussion with your class. So as you read earlier entries, you might realize how certain discussions you've had about themes, and how the events at the end of the book tie in with the events at the beginning of the book. So that's always a great idea if you're not really sure what your opinions are and you just want to get a more in-depth glance at the book. This was the first part of a 4-part series on how to form your opinions. In this video, we talked about how to recognize your opinions, and I suggested that you either use sticky notes in your book while you're reading, or you skim the book after you're done. Now the video is over, go write down your opinions and head on to the next video on how to strengthen those opinions. Thanks for watching and have a good day. If you're interested in accessing further resources which I have created for students like you, then head to my website, tutorwithlila.com. There you can find printable handouts which cover the information I've discussed in my videos, as well as being able to access my editing services. There you can send me a paper, essay, or anything else you need edited, and I'll take a look at it and offer you suggestions for how you can strengthen your argument and the overall appearance and organization of your paper. You can find this link in the video description, or you can go ahead and type it right into your search engine. Thank you and have a great day.